So the negative effects of the COVID-19 pandemic are still being felt by many economies around the world. Some leaders have already started releasing funds to help shore up their economies. So how long will it take for South Africa's economy to recover from the persistent pandemic's effects? I'm joined now by Economist Annabel Bishop, joining us via Skype tonight here on eNCA. Annabel, a very good evening to you. So the JSE All Share Index closing today lower than 7%, well, 7% lower, I should say. How do we even stem all these losses at this stage?
I think, we're in a terrible situation of very substantial market turmoil. And of course, this has come about by the global COVID-19 disease spreading. And of course, the concern certainly is that there's severe risk off in financial markets. And, it's very difficult to stem it. The Federal Reserve Bank, the Central Bank of America, has been putting a lot of liquidity into the market. They're using quantitative easing, buying commercial paper, and of course, cutting interest rates. But you can see it's had little effect to date. And of course, the sell-off, whether it's of equities or just of emerging market assets in general, such as our bonds, persists.
You've highlighted some of the measures that the other countries are adopting. For example, as part of their stimulus packages, we're seeing the United States pouring money into the market. They're looking at providing payments for individual American citizens. There are, of course, the rate cuts announced by their central bank. Would the measures in this case be a matter of copy and paste, or does each country have to design its own stimulus package?
I think you're quite right there. Each country needs to design its own stimulus package. What's happening in a number of countries, which is quite useful, is that they're looking at giving fiscal stimulus, so giving tax credits, putting money into people's bank accounts to obviously assist if they are obviously battling financially because of loss of income and ability to go to work because of these shutdowns in global economies. I think talking more to monetary policy, we expect our Reserve Bank will cut interest rates tomorrow. Expectations range from anywhere from 25 basis points to a full 1%, from a 0.25% to a full 1%. For South Africa, it's quite difficult. We don't have much money in the cupboard. We have severely constrained government finances, but yet we are obviously pushing money in to try and assist where possible and obviously to bolster the healthcare system. But of course, for South Africa as well, we're in a different environment. So quantitative easing helps in global financial markets. The US dollar is a key determinant of global financial markets. And of course, therefore, the United States very aware of the impact they can have by cutting interest rates and obviously by pushing through monetary policy stimulus such as quantitative easing. In South Africa, it's a bit of a different situation. And of course, we're not even at level 4 yet. We're still at level 3 in terms of infection rates in our country.
And tourism, a big money spinner for us, it is going to be affected with the restrictions on travel. We're also seeing people, of course, quite concerned about going out to restaurants and the like as a result of this pandemic. How do we protect that sector in particular?
Well, that's one of my biggest worries. People working as waiters, waitresses in restaurants, people working in small businesses, the income can dry up quite quickly and quite rapidly. If we go into a 3-month quarantine, even in South Africa, if we get to level 4 and we deem that necessary to save multiple lives, then of course those people would be financially at risk. And, that is something government needs to obviously consider and see what they can do. Perhaps, short-term loans to small businesses, which can then be used to pay staff salaries and to keep them afloat. But then, of course, the businesses will battle to pay it back because when the economy does start to kickstart, they'll have operating costs as well. So it's going to be a difficult environment. And, of course, we need to try and save as many jobs and as many livelihoods as possible while we are obviously looking to save lives as well.
And it takes us back to what you were saying earlier about how specific we have to be in the tailoring of the stimulus package, especially for sectors like tourism, where we know we benefit a great deal under normal circumstances.
That's exactly it. And of course, a lot of our tourism comes from the wealthy Western countries or, of course, also from Asia as well. And, with both of those areas being hit by the global pandemic, the real worries, is that it's obviously going to have a severe negative impact right across the board from tourism, whether it's, restaurants, hotels, and of course, travel as well, flights. And these are areas that, other countries in the world are looking to put stimulus packages in to assist and help, but it's not enough. The global economy is anticipated to previously perhaps growing at the start of the year by 3.3%, the IMF's forecast. It might come out close to 0% this year. In South Africa, already in a recession in the last 2 quarters of last year. The risk is that this runs through, the first 3 quarters of this year. So it's going to be a very tough environment.
I want to ask you about something else, more political. The appearance today by the president, flanked by the leaders of the country's opposition parties, all singing from the same hymn sheet. Does that make any difference?
Look, I think if ever there was a time for solidarity, now obviously is it. We don't want division. We don't want politicking. We don't want opportunism off the back of people suffering. And of course, the more that political parties can come together, because obviously people do look for them as leadership. And as you said, sing from the same hymn sheet, it does help to instill some measure of calm. People want to see that the leaders of this country are in control, that they have the crisis, in their sights, and they are doing what they can to assist it. And of course, some very good information coming through from our health department as well. And that all does help to instill people with the ability to try and make it from day to day in this crisis.
And do the markets, just generally, South Africa specifically, is the reaction from big business and the like, and the listed companies, that the South African government is handling the COVID-19 pandemic domestically in the best way?
Look, I can't speak for corporate South Africa across the board.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
You're putting me on the spot. You can ask me what I feel. I feel they're handling it very well.
All right, Annabel Bishop, I thought I'd put that question to you as someone who moves in those spaces, but thank you so much for speaking to us tonight. I'm sure we'll be having many more conversations over the coming weeks.